the journey as a healer, it's like we realize what we're doing is that we are co-facilitating a person's remembrance of their ability to heal themselves.
Hey guys, welcome to our SoulFam Podcast where I interview space holders from all over the world. I'm your host, my name is Karolina, and I am the Connection Catalyst. I help spiritual entrepreneurs experience deeper connection with themselves, with others, and with the universe. Today on the show, we have Walter Boyd, the intuitive energy healer. Welcome to the show, Walter. How are you doing?
Carolina, thank you so much for having me on your show. It's an absolute pleasure and privilege. Thank you.
I'm super grateful that you agreed because we have so many exciting things to talk about, especially light codes and stuff. I'm just so pumped to talk about it because it's not a topic that everyone understands, even in the spiritual field. I feel like okay, probably people know about chakras, probably people know about meditation, yoga, and things like that. But I feel like still light codes and light activations are still quite a niche when it comes to the theme in spiritual area, let's say. So I'm super, super excited to talk about it. But first, I would love to hear about your story. How did you get to be the intuitive energy healer? How did you start your journey? How did you become the person that you are today?
Okay, so I've always been interested in all things esoteric. I did my degree in chemistry, but on the side of that, I've always had this interest of things that were subtle, that was not spoken about. You know, the mythologies, the energies, ghosts and spirits. You know, if you said to me there was a haunted house around here, I'd be like, let's go check it out. But you know, as part of my development, I explored all sorts of things. I'm still very much an astrologer. I read charts. And as a progression from that exploration of astrology, I became even more aware of the subtleties of the human body, of the human person. You know, that you can look at a chart and you say the personality is this, and this, and this. But everything is energy. So if you said you have a component of, say, the moon and Saturn, which gives you a personality that's emotionally very strict, emotionally very in control, when you feel into that energetically, you feel someone who is tight. If you said you've got moon and Jupiter, from an astrological point of view, you think, oh, someone who's very expansive, very free flowing, just like you, free flowing, connecting with the world, connecting expansively. But when you look at it energetically, you see an energy field that's very abundant, very fluid, very expansive. So you know, it's just how you look at different things. It's different layers of information. So astrology is one layer, and then you will find that there's almost a an energetic component that reflects the information that you get in the astrological chart. And then you take it further, you get how do you interact with this energy? How do you facilitate this the changes? And when you facilitate changes not just on the energy level, but because we are multi-layered, you know, got emotional, the mental, the etheric levels. When you work on any one level, it starts to reflect on the different levels, and then you see changes that can manifest in the physical world. So that's something that I've always loved, and I hope I will always love till the day I go into the next realm.
And probably you will, and I'm also really, really passionate about all these things, and I would love if you could share a little bit about just these bodies, because you mentioned the layers, but I don't feel like everyone knows what these subtle bodies are. So could you just briefly talk about all of them?
Yeah, so you know, I think most people know about the aura or the energy field, you know, and so from an energetic perspective, the first layer beyond the physical is the etheric layer. And then this etheric layer effectively is a kind of a template that says this is how the physicality is built. So if there are distortions in the physical body, or like, you know, like wounds or hurts and stuff, you could try and attend to the blockages or the distortion from the etheric layer. But you know, there are ways of actually testing. Is it on the etheric layer? Is it on the mental layer? Is it the emotional layer? Because Some of us, we walk around with a kind of script in our heads. I'm not good enough, or I'm great, I'm going to be successful, I'm going to be successful. That kind of script will impart from the mental to the emotional to the etheric to the physical. So, the saying where they say, fake it till you make it. Fake it till you make it. I think you've heard this before, where you keep saying it, or you pretend. In some sense, that pretense creates the template on the mental layer, which then which then informs the emotional layer. Because let's just say you've got a bad day and you've got to go to a party, and so you fake it till you make it is like you walk in, hey guys, how you doing? How you doing? That smile energetically, let's just say you don't have a smile on your face right now. You feel into the energy, and it will have a kind of, again, a kind of stillness to the aura. Now allow yourself to smile with honesty. And immediately you find that your aura feels a little more expansive, a little more open, a little more freedom loving. That is the action where you've imparted some form of change on some level. And the fact that that smile, because the smile is physical, the smile has affected your emotional level. Because when you smile enough, you actually feel good. So which leads to which? Does the smile lead to the physical? Or sorry, does the smile lead to the emotional reality? Or does the emotional reality lead to the smile? It's a cycle.
Both.
It's a cycle. So the thing is, when you know everything is interconnected, you can tweak one and it will link up to the rest of it. So positive mindset will eventually filter through into the emotional mindset, which says, hey, I'm actually feeling good. The troubles of the world isn't actually impacting me as much. That emotional template, the emotional body, will then inform the physical or the etheric level, because that's the closest to the body. Everything's fine, everything's fine, everything's fine. And the physical body begins to reflect that everything is fine. This is not to imply that, from a deep emotional wounding, or like a real disease, that you just say, everything's okay, everything's okay, everything's okay, and it will go away. It's like, there's certain things where you have to be aware. If you need to go to the standard medicine, as in to go to a doctor to fix, say, a deep wound, then go to the doctor. Honor that everything that we have in the world is interconnected. And therefore, as opposed to that's bad, this is good, when is this good? When is that bad? It's like alcohol as an example. A few glasses isn't going to hurt anyone. But when you go overdose, or you're overdoing it, it changes the balance from being a good thing to something that doesn't really support you or doesn't really enrich you. So again, it's recognizing the balance and then saying, on what level do I need to attend to this issue right now? Is this coming from an emotional level? Is this coming from the mental level, which is slightly higher? Or maybe is it actually etheric? And you can dowse for that. I presume you've heard of dowsing. We
Yes,
could go
but
into dowsing,
please,
but
please explain.
I've got a dowsing tool right now. So I've got a pendulum. So as part of, anything at the end of the string can be used as a pendulum, but I'm also a pendulum healer. So I use specific tools of specific structures to bring in different qualities of the healing energy. Okay, we're digressing, but okay, let's just say I want to say, show me a yes, and you'll see that the pendulum is going clockwise. Then I stop it and I'll say, show me a no, and it goes anti-clockwise. And in that respect, if I said, right, I've got this issue within my life right now, let's just say, I'm very scared of something, okay? Is it actually coming from the mental? No. Is it coming from the emotional? Yes. So immediately, if this is a client session, I would then say the issue here is from an emotional block or an emotional belief system, something that you are carrying on from on an emotional level. And then I've got lists here that says these are the emotions that are related. So you douse through the list and you say these are the emotions, and this is why you're having this fear. And so you do the energy work to clear the emotion. And what happens then? You find that because the way things work, like as I said before, everything is interconnected, something will always bring up a trigger. Something will always bring up a trigger. So if the opposite side of the trigger is the emotional content, when you release the emotional content, the trigger cannot exist anymore because there is nothing to hold it down. So as you release it, this person says, I don't feel that anymore. I don't feel the same way about this particular trigger as I did prior to releasing that emotion. My When I did my psychosynthesis way back in 2011, 2012, psychosynthesis is a kind of psychotherapy with a very strong slant towards the spiritual awareness. Okay. And what it taught me was that there are emotions in everything. Prior to that, I was really quite not numb, but I wasn't quite aware of the emotional content of things. So I could feel into things, but it was more of a cerebral mental concept. And through psychosynthesis, I then saw that I actually said after a particular exercise, suddenly everything looks more colorful. It looked brighter, like there was an emotional layer to everything. And so what I'm actually understanding now through all my case studies and stuff is that when we have a distortion in ourselves, it breaks into the multi layers. So it breaks into the etheric, the emotional, the mental. One of these layers will be where the main weight of that distortion will be. And as a healer or as a perceiver, what we have to do really, I think in all healing work, what we are really doing is bringing conscious awareness to something that no one wants to talk about. It's like, let's just say that example that I said, I had that issue where something was triggering me. All I was doing was meeting the trigger and then reacting by saying, I don't want to do this. But because I then brought my awareness to what the emotional content was, becoming conscious of the emotion, becoming conscious of what was forgotten or mislaid or hidden, we can then sort of bring it back into light, bring it back into light. And when you bring it back into the light, and I don't mean light as in good or bad, and I think it's just a light of consciousness. When we bring it back into awareness, there is a chance for it to then be reintegrated into what was initially the splitting. So the trigger is where it's split from that emotional content. And when we bring that emotional content back into our consciousness, we then have a choice to reintegrate it. And when it's reintegrated, you get wholeness. And when you're whole, there's no more imbalance. As when I first after I did my psychosynthesis, my business was called um, Rainbow Path to Wholeness, because it was all about, and I didn't mean it from a kind of like rainbow colors, but it was like the multifaceted layers of the human being, the rainbow, the seven chakras, bringing all of them into alignment. And when they're all aligned, then there was a sense of wholeness once more. We are never in a state of like perfection, like you're a statue and you're no longer moving. Life is always flowing with us. And as we move with life, there will be moments which shock us and create distortion. But it's when we are conscious that when we notice a distortion occurs, we can say, oops, that's occurred, realign, bring it back. You're dancing with life again, and then something else happens, shocks us, creates a distortion. Oops, that's occurred. Realign, bring it back. And so what happens then, that state of conscious awareness, if we are truly, this brings us into the realms of mindfulness, that when we are really truly mindful of every moment, and we're not just on our phones and like, it's like, oh, and it's like everything is automatic and unconscious, then things trigger us, and all those things get triggered and they get displaced and unknown. But if we are constantly moving, where life is almost like a walking, living, breathing meditation, everything that sort of creates a distortion, we are then given the opportunity to say, "Hmm, no, that's not right. I can re-establish harmony and bring it back in." And therefore, you are more aligned with your heart, your wholeness, and you're more aligned with your chakras and your different layers of the aura.
Hmm.
That's my, yeah. That was a bit long. Sorry.
That's completely fine. I'm totally into everything that you're saying, and I have a lot of questions based on what you said. Because, for
Yes.
example, the work that I do, shadow work, right? And I do something
Yes.
called completion process, where you focus on an emotion that you're feeling right now, and you're coming back to childhood, and you release the
Mm,
emotional charge that you had in this first memory that really brought you to this feeling right now, because it's all started in childhood, the very first time that you felt this specific feeling. And so I found that sometimes, even as you said, through awareness, through consciousness of what happened, sometimes this is enough to just let go of the memory. But sometimes, actually, it's not enough to just know what happened. It's required to let go of this emotional charge, meaning really express this suppressed energy that is in our bodies. So my question is, how did you find with your clients, is it like always necessary to release this emotion or transform it, or do you do it with energy work, maybe kind of like a more like a pranic healing, or how do you transform? Because I believe that if you still have an emotional charge, even though sometimes you might know consciously what happened, or okay, this is the emotion, not always I found that when people know about what happened and when I know about emotion, that this emotional charge is gone. And I found that I need to really guide them to actually feel everything that they were going through in this memory, so that they can really let it out, right? Let it out of their body, out of their aura, and then it's gone. Then, as you said, there is no charge anymore. So then the trigger is not there anymore, because we're not reacting automatically from the program, from how we were coded in childhood, but we are aware in the moment, and we can respond however we feel, however our essence wants us to respond. So, what is your perspective on it? Like conscious awareness
I
versus letting it out of your body?
Absolutely. I think it's all part and parcel of the healing journey. Not everyone is able, some levels of trauma are so intense that if you said, let's re-traumatize you by feeling it, really feel that trauma again and let it out, that could actually cause a secondary sort of splitting. And for me, I think it's always organic. The whole process is organic. And I think, you know, uh, books are supportive. You can actually learn a system, a process where it says X, Y, and Z. But I also feel that what what is actually happening to the consciousness of humanity is that we're becoming more flexible, more fluid in our awareness. We need the framework. We need the framework, but each client will be different. So one client you may feel, okay, the awareness in this situation right now, awareness is all that's necessary. We'll go deeper. Gentleness is always important. One of the archetypes or the sub personalities that came up with my psychosynthesis was this guy called William Wisdom, and he was like a monk holding the earth, and he was on fire, and his motto was compassionate witnessing, compassionate witnessing. And so for me, it's not about just witnessing the client, but witnessing the environment, because when we think of the interconnection of everything, the whole healing space becomes a kind of a biofeedback loop of what's actually going on. It's like you're reading the client, but if the birds outside, let's just say, are suddenly going all crazy, you have to sort of sense what is that actually saying. Or suddenly, something changes in the atmosphere. You are allowing yourself to be really conscious, present, and organic, so that you're really dancing with the process. Because I feel that, let's just say book says, let's just, because I do Reiki as well. hands on head, hands on ears, hands on heart, hands on whatever. That, as a beginner, is absolutely necessary because it develops the kind of cell memory, the body memory of how to hold, how to be present, how to uh, channel the energy. But as you deepen your process as a healer, you find that one client will actually not want you to place the hands there, and therefore you may not place it on the body. You may actually feel that the guidance is to actually be slightly higher, or it may actually be slightly not imbalanced, but there might be a movement from the normal standard hand positions. And so, from a kind of healing process, the energy, let's just say you are brought to the attention of an emotion and you're feeling it's really, really intense, then I would actually trust my inner guidance. Do we need to go as deep as possible to release it? Or does this session really need just their awareness that this is in the room? This is in the room, and as they leave the process and go through their day or until the next session, it will be within their auric energy field that says this is in the room, this is in my space, and therefore when they come in for a second session, they are then better able to re-engage with that emotion. Other times, you find that the client is, the emotional content isn't as charged, and it may just require a bit of EFT work, or, checking with where it is within the meridians, or using uh, pendulum tools, or, sometimes because you should really look up kinesiology, because within kinesiology as well, they've got various methodologies. Are we attending this from the physical level? So, do we need to actually massage particular areas of the body to actually release the emotional content? Because emotions aren't just spread everywhere. It's like a person who, I'm not saying this is just an example, but a person who feels like he's got the weight on the world on his shoulders may carry a lot of tension here. So if we dived into the emotions there, or the mental constructs there, it might say, well, I don't deserve to be happy, as an example. I don't deserve to be happy. Therefore, to prove my worth, I will carry this weight for you. So the first thing we have to do is to deconstruct that belief of unworthiness and say, actually, you are worthy. And then, use the organic methods again to find that sense of personal worth. Once they have that sense of personal worth, then you may find that the emotion that is that contained the initial belief system, maybe grief that no one saw that they were worthy. So that's where you go in, and you may find that then all you need to do is to massage the neck muscles to release the grief, because now the initial template that I'm not worthy is no longer there. The next layer is just to release the remnant of the emotions that's there, and then the person is released. Other times, maybe you may find that a client just needs to know I'm worthy, and their homework from now on is to really just shake about. Because in my sessions, I get guided either to do with particular actions, like sometimes they have to do dancing, uh, where they have to move the pelvic area, and I see it as a movement of the sacral, and I tell them to dance with like figure of eight with the hips, because what happens then is I find that, especially where there is an inability to connect with their creative potential, there's a tightness in the hips. So when there's lots of movement, and it's like you think of yourself in a salsa disco, how do you show your creative power? You are dancing and swaying like a snake. That's, this is where it's all at. So, sometimes it's very intuitive. You get guided, and it's like, this is where you need to move, or you may actually move with them in session. And it's really odd, because I think that the journey as a healer, it's like we realize what we're doing is that we are co-facilitating a person's remembrance of their ability to heal themselves, because it's not us. You know what I mean? It's never us. What we're doing is we're saying we're holding the light, and then we actually in this space, and we are bringing through our attention, through our awareness, what you need to do for yourself to come back to wholeness, to come back into alignment, to come back into embodiment and empowerment. And so as they move out of session, they may have to just do a regular practice of following through. And as they
Mhm.
do that, they co-facilitate, or they are facilitating your return to wholeness. That's the way I see it.
Absolutely, and it's integration after the session that is very important, right? And it's like that's with everything, I think, because I do different methods like belief work, or as I said, completion process, and integration after is almost as important as the session itself. Because if you, even if you have some awareness, even if you have some understanding, and if you then don't do anything about it, or even after like psychedelic experience, let's say, if you experience, God or everything, unconditional love, but then you forget about it and you don't really do anything about it so that you can embody this quality or this vision or this understanding in your life, then obviously it's not going to have that big of an effect on you as if you were doing the work. So I totally agree that integration after the session and kind of like homework is super important to actually really bring the conscious awareness also to, okay, this shift has happened and now I'm embodying it and really grounding, anchoring it within me. So I totally agree with you. And so let's talk a little bit about the light codes, because this is such an exciting topic for me. I would love to know, what are light codes, and also how do people know what they are, in terms of, I see these pictures of light codes, and or I get these emails from different healers like, oh, this is a light body activation, or this is a abundance activation, and there are some weird patterns and spirals and whatever. And I guess what it is because I've done, for example, DMT or something, so I know that there are realms where there are like sacred geometry out there. But still, like,
Yes.
what are these light codes and how do they work, and also where do they come from?
Okay, I think that's a very big question, but for me, light codes. How? Okay, let me start with the origins for me. When I was in my early teens, this is before I even picked up my book on astrology and tarot and stuff. I used to find that I used to speak a language that was not native to me, and I would speak it in secret. I would speak it in secret, and I'd go around. Sometimes I'd be pottering around the house and I'd be speaking as though I had like an imaginary friend, but I'd be speaking it, but it was always secret. And I always felt like I had to keep it secret. Then one particular day, I was walking down the stairs. We were living in this double-story house. I was walking down the stairs, and by the stairs, because the stairs was outside of the house itself, by the stairs itself was my parents' bedroom. And as I was actually quite vocal that day, and I remember speaking out like as though I was speaking to the birds and the trees and everything. And someone slammed the cupboard door in that room, and I shocked myself because suddenly I got caught out. I got caught out that someone heard this language. And for some reason, like I said, I always had this. I wasn't ashamed of it. It just felt like it needed to be. It wasn't time to express it. And I made a promise then that I would never, ever get caught doing that again. Forward 2019, December 2019, I moved into a new property, and I found out that this property was in very close proximity to a very sacred well in the UK. And I spent the whole of that Christmas 2019, because I moved in on the 18th of December, and I spent the whole of that Christmas looking for the sacred well, because Google Maps kept saying this well was close by, but I couldn't find it. I couldn't find it for the not for the lack of trying, but I tried everything. I finished work and I'd go in and search for it. I could not find it. And then on the 1st of January 2020, a memory came back to me that I used to speak a funny language. And I still call it a funny language. I don't call it with anything else. It was like a funny language. And even though I was living in my own little space, The promise that I had made to myself that I would never get caught was so strong that the memory was actually almost like vague, and that I would actually then speak into my pillow only at night because, I mean, there was no one around. There was no one around, but I was still speaking to my pillow. And the day after I found the well, the day after I found the well, I started speaking, and the day after I found the well. And so the whole uh, light code story re-emerged for me, I would actually say, in January 2020, New Year. And if you go onto my Facebook page, you'll actually see on January 2020, I actually have a picture of uh, a self-made picture of the Ace of Cups, because the Ace of Cups is the filling of the cup and it's spilling over with water. Now, coming back to the symbolism of water in the cups, for me, water is the soul. For me, water is the soul. And I feel that light language to me is the expression where the soul is speaking. You know, Carolina has lived more than one lifetime. Yeah. And this extended multidimensional being that is currently looking through the eyes of Carolina has an essence, has a language, has a voice, has has a way of communicating. And I feel what light language does is it taps into that multidimensional sacred essence of who that person is. But another thing that I actually feel is important is that in a lot of my light codes, even in the early days, they started giving me this idea of sovereignty, but sovereignty not from a kind of I'm wearing the crown and I've got a very strong solar plexus and I'm just the boss in this room. You know, it wasn't that kind of sovereignty. It was a sovereignty where I see clearly, I feel powerfully, and I physically, as in solar plexus and below, I am physically present. So the three centers that they were showing me was this, and the solar plexus or the abdomen. And I saw that when these three were powerfully aligned, that was a true quality of sovereignty, because it wasn't where I'm sovereign because I say so. This wasn't I'm sovereign because I love enough. You know, this is I'm sovereign because I'm the boss in this room. This was sovereign because I see clearly, which means that other people also can, you can be sovereign with another person because another person's truth is just as valid within their alignment of head, heart, and body. So I feel that part of the crucial journey of people working towards alignment, and I believe that light codes will become more and more prevalent within society as people connect their three centers of empowerment. I see clearly, I see clearly, I see clearly. I feel with strength and authenticity and integrity, and I'm so powerfully present here and now. I'm so powerfully present here now. And as these three align without any distortions, you'll find that the being that is actually speaking is not the incarnation, is not the avatar called Walter, or the avatar called Carolina. It is the being that came in and is actually the true essence, the true witness behind the eyes, the true witness behind the thoughts. It's like when all the thoughts are whatever, there's still something sacred, something so intangible but so present behind the thoughts, behind the presence. And it's that being that actually then delivers these codes. Now, I believe that these codes work in two ways. When they give me codes, it's like I'll get information of what needs to come through, and I'll draw the designs, because I do both vocal and I also do handwriting. And most of the time, sometimes I tend to actually get vocal when I'm around water. Water comes in, and I've got like things that I want to say, and I'll be speaking to the water, or I'll be singing to the water. Uh, But when it comes to the written light codes, it's usually I'll be drawing the images, and it's like Walter steps aside. It's like the personality steps aside, and it's like the image comes through, and then they'll tell me what the story is about, what the image is about. Because you'll find that in all of my light codes, there will be an image, and then there'll be the information of what the light code is about, and then the guided process of integrating that light code, because it's not all the same. Because like I've done the light body activation, I've done the activation for the three centers of power, again, and I actually show, or I explain within the write up, what the person needs to do to consciously activate that light code within themselves. I feel that light codes are also acting as seeds, because you can also create light codes and plant them around different areas. You know, there's this saying that says the eyes are the windows of the soul. And I feel that on some level, when you put codes around, people will pick up that code, and the necessary information that's for them will be integrated into themselves. My only minor concern is that when a light coder comes in where there may be distortions between the alignments, then the distortions may actually be within the code as well. This is not to dismiss light coding, and it's like saying when a child picks up a paintbrush, uh, their artwork is not worthy of seeing. It is worthy of seeing. But you can't then say that paintbrush or that piece of artwork is comparable to a master like, say, Michelangelo, where there is effort, there is a recognition of form and structure, but it's still there. There is something there, but its discernment is absolutely important, because, again, with this quality here activated, not everything is right for you. Not everything is right for your body. Not everything is right for your heart. It doesn't mean that the code has been delivered with any malice, but it just may show that it's not resonating with the person at this time. And so it's really about, is this my truth right now? Do I need to actually take it in? It's a bit like a meal. Do I want to eat right now? No, I don't want to eat. Okay, we'll leave it later. Mom and dad may cook us a meal, and it's like, yeah, come and eat. And in the old days, it's like everybody gathers at the table and they'll eat. And that's like the light codes everywhere. And it's just like, just take it in. Just take it in, because we've put a lot of love into it. Just take it in. But nowadays, most of us are grown ups. It's like, no, mom, I'm not actually hungry. I'll have something later. And so it's like, no, that code doesn't work for me right now. I'll take it in later or never. And I think it's about discernment. It's about alignment. My true feeling is that the heart is the portal of our multidimensionality. This is what my guides say to me. Our head is just the way in which we direct our consciousness when we are truly, like, this is truly connected without any distortions. This is like the lighthouse that says, where do I want to direct my attention right now? This is our multidimensional essence, the portal through which it can spill forth. As it spills forth, it is then directed by the conscious thought.
So
And
heart
then
spills, and then it's directed by the third eye. Mhm.
and the body anchors it into physicality, anchors it into um, material manifestation, which I feel is where the whole healing process comes in as well. Because, I've always had this question about Reiki as an example, where you just lay your hands and you can allow your thoughts to wander. But I feel that true healing, not how do I, profound healing can occur with Reiki. Don't get me wrong. I do Reiki. I still love Reiki. But if there's something really important, it's bring your hands, because if you think about it, your hands are the first line of connection to your heart, right? This is now, let's just say you are absolutely clear of your intention. In any spell work, in any manifestation, be clear on your intention. So this directs the intention. This, the hands, then directs the energy that's coming from the portal, and the physical body where you are grounded and present with your client, with your intention, with your desire, then anchors the frequencies that are coming forth. Because as this is how they show it to me, everything is, we live in a world of polarity. So as soon as something splits from unity, from the unity consciousness, there is something that is its polarity. Okay, so let's just say you want to create this thing in your life. So immediately this thing exists because it is not something else. It is this, but it's not that. So what you then do is you bring your attention to this thing. You allow your hands then to become open and free. You are fully present and seated or standing, however you're doing it, but you are fully present in the moment. And as you bring your hands towards this thing, this intention, you can write it on a piece of paper. The polar points that are required to bring this into manifestation, and you don't need to think about it because the innate intelligence of your multidimensionality knows what exactly is required to make this what it needs to be. So as soon as you do that, you are mind, heart, and body present, you are already bringing this thing between your hands into manifestation. And this part here knows the highest vibrational expression of what you are seeking to manifest. So as long as you are no longer sort of carrying around distortions around, say, whatever your intention might be, as once you're clear, then your vision is clear, and therefore this becomes clear as well. And therefore, a lot of my work as well revolves around clearing the distortions around the heart, because the distortions around the heart field define whether, because I see the heart field as 2 points, the higher heart and the heart chakra. The heart chakra is where we spill and we give our love to people. Some people are givers, but the higher heart for me is where we feel and we believe and we are able to receive the love from others. So some people have blocked higher hearts and big, big hearts. What happens then is they give, but they say, I'm not worthy to receive any love. Others are big receivers, non-givers, and they, what kind of personalities that be. It's like, I want, but I'm not giving. But what we need is to actually have the two of them working together where I receive and I give. It's sacred reciprocity. I receive and I give in equality. And therefore, that living heart expression can really spill forth and bring your desires, your intentions, your visions into greater reality. That was a
Beautiful.
long. I'm so sorry.
That's completely fine. I'm so into everything that you're saying, and I'm sure all the listeners are as well. And I have a question about these light codes. So, first of all, you say that it's like a language of the soul. So, would everyone have a different language for themselves if they wanted to, let's say, attune themselves and open themselves up? And also, having said that, is everyone even able to do this and to open up to receive this kind of light codes or this kind of information? Or is it just, maybe not for everyone, not everyone can handle this amount of information, or someone can develop the potential to open up to this amount of information? Because I'm guessing it's like it's downloads, right? So you need to be open in your channel to download information through your crown, through your third eye, through your soul, right? So you need to really do the work if you want to do this. So does everyone have their own messages, or are these messages also universal for everyone? Because when you post, for example, on Instagram and you have the light codes, I'm guessing that these specific light codes are for everyone to benefit from, and they are like universal. But also, I'm guessing that some of the light codes will be only for you and for your energy field and will be really suited to you. So how does it work, and can everyone do it?
I believe everyone has the capability of doing it because everyone has these 3 points. Everyone has these 3 points of connection, and I think if we think of it from a kind of um, practical point of view, everyone has the ability to envision because for me the third eye is our capacity to imagine bigger than what the current constraints of our world might be. It's like people say, well, that's not language, but the capacity to imagine sits within the third eye. So the imagining function is also closely linked to the intuitive function, where if we say no, imagining is just, it's just not real. Therefore, in some sense, we are also implying intuition is also not real. And then the capacity to love, everyone has that. But the question is, is everyone willing to go vulnerable? Because in this, where I was talking about the give and take function, the the receiving function sometimes can be closed off because I don't want to be vulnerable. I don't want to be vulnerable. I don't want to look, I don't want to receive that much. So again, this part needs to be, and I do feel like everything in the world is organic. It's everything has its own rhythm. So recognizing that everyone has the capability says, yes, everyone should be able to do it. But will everyone do it? I don't think so, because it's like everyone's got the ability to pick up a pencil and draw. They may not draw like a Van Gogh or draw like a Michelangelo, but they have the hands and the fingers, and if they want to apply themselves, they can do it. And so I feel that part of that same art form of channeling information through is a possibility for everyone. How do you do it? Like I said, I really feel that the starting process is the reconnection of the head center, the heart center, and the body center. If there's any distortions around, and I'm not saying that if you've got, say, body image issues, you can't be a light coder. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying that if there's any sort of like strictures around really flowing, it's like for me, the light coding process is very much linked to the sacral process of flowing and being in rhythm. So if someone doesn't really like to flow, they may not actually feel that they have the capability of really sort of going outside of the box and doing something that they are not used to. It's like someone says, okay, Walter, let's just do a light code. Okay, ra ra ki ki sam nai ka kam na I ya I I I. You know, if you said to me 30 years ago when I was doing my chemistry degree, I'd be doing that. They'd be like, I'd be saying like, what are you doing? What's it there? I can't even see anything. What are you doing? So sometimes the capacity to be brave, because bravery sits, or courage sits in the solar plexus. The sacral process says, I can dance so that whatever intuition or whatever insight or whatever impulse I get, I will allow myself to anchor it, root chakra, anchor it. So again, it's that process of really allowing the different centers to inform you and deliver to its highest capability. And I feel that, like any art form, Michelangelo didn't become an artist all of a sudden. There was practice, practice, practice. And with practice, you'll find that your audience base will also shift, because your message, the vibration of your message will also shift. And therefore, as that shifts, your audience will also shift. There will be a shift um, in the essence of the message. Will it affect everyone? Will all light codes affect everyone? I believe it does. It's like where if we go into energy medicine, homeopathy, flower essences and stuff, if we think of it as everything is permeating and everything is radiating an energy signature, everything, everything, even rocks, even the grain of sand, it is permeating and it's radiating an energetic signature. It is up to each individual whether they open up to that permeation and to be impacted by that permeation. It does, it's like some permeations may be so strong that you can say, I'm going to hold that wall and I don't want to actually receive it, but something will still be imprinted on your energy field. So I feel that it will impart, it will affect, it will sort of create subtle shifts. And my guides always say to me, sometimes it's not seeing the shift immediately. Sometimes it's just about planting the seeds. It's about strategically planting the seeds and knowing when they are ready, the seeds will grow. And, if we think of ourselves as a collective where we are collaborating, co collaborating, facilitating, co facilitating, in the ideal world, I guess when we are putting out these light codes, which I do, I know they're not going to reach everyone, but for those who feel the calling to activate a particular aspect, they will receive something from it. And that's the way my guides work. They give me the information, I throw it through, and then they tell me how it's to be used, and I put it through. Other times, as an example, you may say, okay, actually, I need to create an activation for this, and then they will deliver. So it's two ways. It can either come through and then you write it down, or you set the intention of what you want to come through, and then it's delivered accordingly.
Beautiful. And so the light codes work in both ways. You can kind of like channel them with the voice and some movements, right? Because that's what I saw. Or
Yes.
you can channel a picture that is going to kind of come to you. And so is it enough to just meditate, to just like be with the picture and meditate and just kind of take it in? Or is it
Mm.
like a specific ritual every time with the light code to go through so that you can fully embody and anchor it?
Marcus, my partner, the way his light codes work, he says go into meditation, look at the image, and then allow it to infuse. This breath work included and stuff. For me, my guides always say, it's not always, but there is some form of exercise. The way they actually say to me is that if we can somehow coordinate the three centers, because this is my focus. So I'm looking at the chart or I'm looking at the image, but then I'm using my hands. I'm actually then activating this center. And because intention really comes from here that says, I want this. I want this. Yeah. So you're saying, I want this. And I'm bringing my focus here. And then I'm using my hands, or based on what they tell me, I'm supposed to pull the energy and place it in particular areas of my body. And that way, I see it as a kind of affirmation again of the three centers of power that allows for the fullness of the activation to come into presence. Because, breath work and stuff, and I know it works, but different people will have different guidance. And I do believe that if someone says, well, I don't really want to follow the hand movements that Walter is actually talking about, I just want to breathe the energy in, it will do the same. Because I feel intention is very important. It is, almost central to the first steps of making something a reality. If there's no intention, it can't come into manifestation. So yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. This is really interesting. And so you said, and I hope that you don't mind if we go a little bit over time because I'm so curious. I have so many questions. Uh, we'll probably not have time for all of them. But so you said the light codes are language of the soul. So does it mean that you can get light codes from different parts of you that live in different, let's say, parts of the universe. So you can be, let's say, part of you is Arcturian right now, right? Part of your essence is Arcturian, or from Sirius, or is a Pleiadian. And so you can bring these light codes from a specific, let's say, constellation, from these beings, and then you can channel them through, and this will be like a specific information from this part of you. Is that correct?
Yes, yes, you're actually quite right because if we think of ourselves as multidimensional, then yes, Walter is sat here right now. He's sitting right here right now, but from a quantum perspective, my lifetime as a Lyran, my lifetime as something else, or my lifetime in a parallel Earth is all occurring right now. And so once we actually activate the portal function here and the intention here, the capacity to actually connect, we can then say, well, actually, I'm opening up. So I'm no longer Walter, I'm actually my expanded self. And as my expanded self, where do I want to actually pull this information from? Okay, I can feel that and information is coming from there, and I need to pull it through. And what they keep saying to me at the moment is that not to get hung up over the fact, okay, you're Lyran star seed 888. So therefore, I'm just Lyran, is to remember that from a quantum level, there's this multitude of expressions, and we are just one, almost like a strap across that multitude, right? But the point that is most relevant to this lifetime may come in to bring information through because that particular lifetime has something to deliver in this lifetime. So you know what I mean? So for me, it's like Lyran is very much coming through because something about the Lyran persona, the Lyran energy essence will bring quality to this lifetime. In another lifetime, a couple of 100 years or multi on a say a parallel Earth, I might find an Arcturian lifetime, which is going to be more appropriate. But it doesn't mean that you do not have access to the other lifetimes or the expressions that your soul or your spirit has actually undertaken. It
Mm-hmm.
just says there's a focus here because that focus point has relevance to the lifetime that you're at in this time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It
Yes.
makes a lot of sense. Thank you so much for sharing that. Yeah, because it's like you're through the law of attraction, you might attract this specific information based on your energy right now and based on what's most needed for the universe at large to channel through right now. But yeah, I love this kind of like openness to all that you are, because obviously like my mentor Teal Swan, she says like, yeah, past lives, sure, you're probably going to come back to the past life that is resonating with your story now, but the reality is we are all one, so all past lives are our past lives. So it's kind of like all lives over there in the universe are our lives, at some level of consciousness, right? So if we can just tap to the information that we need in this very moment, and that is the most aligned information, that's, I guess, where the most expansion happens, and that's what the universe wants, because the universe is always expanding. So yeah, I totally resonate, and thank you so much for sharing. It's really really making a lot of sense. And so one last quick question I have is about pendants. So I know that you're making pendants, and so is it the same process that you're just channeling what the pendant should look like and what it should contain for the specific quality, for specific energy to be brought up when a person wears it? And again, is it like an individual or collective matter, or both?
Okay, the pendants at the moment, I've only created two. It's the portal pendant and the PSP, the protect, sorry, the purify, sanctify, and the protect. The portal pendant was something that I channeled through, I guess, mid-year 2020, somewhere around mid 2020 it came through. And what was really really interesting, when I posted the image, someone on Facebook wrote back and said, I have built a 3D model of the same thing, and no word of a lie, mine was a 2D version of this 3D structure. It was like, wow. Wow. That really sort of says to me, it confirms to me that we are so interconnected. It's just that we have to remember that, and I feel that it comes back to this. Once we remember the interconnection, once we initiate this interconnection, we actually find the interconnection actually develops with the outside world as well. Because if you are connected within, you're connected without. You're connected within, you're connected outside as well. So the portal pendant is to open your heart chakra. It does the clearing aspect, but it opens the heart chakra to your multidimensionality. Because for me, the three, okay, this is how I see it. The crown chakra doesn't lead us to our spiritual essence. The crown chakra for me leads or connects me to the grand vision that I, as an incarnating entity, have decided to play a part of. Okay, so this is where the scheme, or the idea of what is meant to be coming through is coming and filtering through. This is where I really am. This is where the true Walter, not Walter, but the true essence of who powers Walter really sits. I always see that within the heart space, there's like a throne, and or the seat of a king or a queen or whatever you want to see it. But on that seat is like this ball of light that is the true essence that has traversed time, space, and is quantum, and it's linking up to all the other timelines, lifetimes, and it's basically in on that seat everywhere. And what this portal does is it opens that up and allows for the fullness of your multidimensionality to step forth into being. And then what happens then is that it's not that Walter is no longer here, but Walter is sitting with the awareness that he is not a limited being that only came in 1970, is going to leave and no longer exist. It's a kind of a reminder, kind of energetic reminder of my eternity. And through that reminder of being that eternal being, and that I have played different aspects, or I've played different roles, and I have within my energetic memory would be skills that I have learned. And the beauty is, if we really think quantum, what is past and what is future? There is no past and future. They all exist now, and therefore, even a future life where I have developed the ability to heal a particular problem is already accessible to the quantum level, on the quantum level, because as long as I'm connected to that reality, that link exists, therefore that information is able to come through and be embodied in my here now. And I feel this is where the conscious mindfulness of what is presenting to us in any one moment allows us then to say, oh, in this moment, this is what I need. And then you use that portal function to call in that energy, and then your physicality, your presence brings and anchors that energy and allows it to become a reality in the here and now. That's how I see it.
Mm.
So that, and that the PSP is more of a, with the whole 2 year situation that we've actually had. I'm not going to use the word, but there was a lot of distortions around the energy field. I almost felt kinds of like intrusions and stuff. And for me, the PSP is where it purifies the field. It then sanctifies, because this takes me into a slight detour, but my team said the frequency of a space will define the residents of that space. So when you raise the frequency of a space, what can exist there comfortably will also shift. And this lines up with the resonance of my light codes. As the frequencies change, the audience will change. So the same thing here. As you purify, so you're no longer carrying any distortions, and you then say sanctify, you're raising the frequency of your field, what can then attack it changes. and then it says protect. Once it's actually done, the sanctification is like protect it and keep it at this level of energy. So that's the two pendants that I've got. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. That sounds cool. Everything that you said sounds freaking cool. And so, for all the people who love your work and who maybe like to get a pendant and see the light codes that you're drawing and everything, what's the best way to find you and contact you?
Okay, so you can contact me on through my webpage. It's called the Spirited Pathway.co.uk. The Spirited Pathway.co.uk, or you can find me on Instagram on Lyron.starseed.888. Lyron.starseed.888.
Perfect. Thank you so, so much for your beautiful energy and for everything that you shared, because I'm just like, I could spend probably another few hours talking to you because I'm just so excited about talking about all these things, and we haven't even touched upon like all these different aliens and guides and like everything. There is so much to talk about, but for now, we need to finish here. But yeah, I'm super, super grateful for you and for everything that you shared. So thank you so, so much. It's been a pleasure to talk to you.
It's been an absolute pleasure, and thank you for having me on your show. May you continue to blossom in the radiance of your spirit, to bring light to the audiences that meet you and see you, and be a true blessing to your life and to your world.
Thank you. Thank you so much for listening. This has been an amazing conversation. I'm just so excited about all this stuff. So curious to explore it even more. And if you'd like to find me, I'm The Connection Catalyst on Instagram. So you can check out my content there or what I'm up to. My private profile is karolina.kuraj, Kuraj, Karolina with K. If you'd like to see my travels and the highlights where I've been in the world. And this Instagram is in Polish, but you're free to check it out as well. And thank you so much again for tuning in, and stay tuned to the next episode.